Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show!
Houston, just make some motherfucking noise real quick, y'all.
Hello, hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Off the Mark. I am your host, Miss Tootie O, and with me as always, and boy did we miss her, is Miss Kali. Gorgeous is she is my homie.
Let's do this.
How are you?
We're back. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's so wonderful to be back here and see your gorgeous face.
It's ridiculous. It's been quite a while. But I'm ready to rock this world, man. There's a lot that we have to catch up on, a lot we want to catch you guys up on. Especially if you're not watching the news. If you're not watching the news, good. Leave it up to us. We got you guys. But I'm sure, as most of you know, you have heard about the tragedy at Astroworld, so that's going to be what the episode's going to be about today. I've been sitting on my hands since the event happened, just like trying to gather my thoughts about it and scramble exactly what happened. I've been watching interviews upon interviews, testimonials upon testimonials, which these kids nowadays call story time, which is interesting to me, but yeah. So, I mean, we kind of want to jump right into it. Miss Kali, I don't know if you're ready, if you're comfortable with this.
Yeah, you mean starting with the clip, or? Yeah,
I mean, if you're, so I mean, if you guys have seen it already, you already know what to expect. If you have not seen it, or either way, honestly, we are going to play a little piece, a few pieces here and there of the Travis Scott concert. If you want to take a moment to pray beforehand, light some sage, do the sign of the cross, do what you have to do to protect yourselves. And just keep in mind that this is just for observation. This isn't to soak in by any means necessary. So yeah, whenever you're ready, Miss Kali, if you want to just play the clip. A lot of kids and their testimonies before the show even started, or before Travis Scott got on stage anyway, were saying that it was rowdy basically the entire day since the morning to that moment, that kids were acting way too high energy, way different, very aggressive, which is, in some regards normal for those kids in that behavior, wild and out and doing their thing. But in other cases, everybody was saying that kids were being extremely selfish. Kids were trampling over kids already. They were pushing other kids. They were cutting in line. They were stealing. They were crime. There was just crime happening everywhere, and which was just interesting to me because these are professional festival goers. These are the kids that go to Coachella and again this Astroworld thing.
Right.
A lot of the testimonies I saw. This was my third one. This is my second one. So it's not like these kids aren't experienced in going to these things. I myself, when I was watching the clips, started to gain the nostalgia of the wave of the bodies going back and forth and be like, get ready, here we go. And all that is normal. Not being able to breathe at a concert, in a sense, is kind of normal. It gets hot, it does get condensed. If you're smaller and you're not ready for it, I'm big and beefy, I can handle it. Miss Kali, we'd have to hold on to her. And I think we've gone to places where we've had to hold on to you and like not let go of you.
Yeah, that's happened.
It's just how it is. Anyway, it's just how it's supposed to be, I should say. That's not what happened that night.
I see a lot of people that didn't go to the festival trying to blame Travis and trying to blame the security, and even people that were at the festival trying to do this, but I think no one's trying to look at the layout of the festival and see that Live Nation literally killed people. I had to turn my lights on so you guys can actually see this, but now I want to talk about why I think it was Live Nation's fault and the setup was just absolutely awful. Okay, so the stage is up here. This is like VIP sections. And then this whole thing is like, this is cameras, and where like the higher up VIP was. So like this is like where seating was. So Kylie Jenner was sitting there. Probably more famous people were sitting in here. And then this row is just security and people taking videos. And there was also some cameras around here. And then this is all GA, like all around this circle. Okay. So at most festivals, this part isn't here. It's just this long section because people need to get out here and get out in the front. So the reason this is flawed is because people don't want to stand here in this section down here. They want to get as close to Travis as possible. So they're going to pack in here as much as possible. And I know that's kind of the people's fault going to the concert, because they know that some people are going to get smushed. But normally people have give, but the gate doesn't have give. So the more you push into here, the more people are just going to slowly start scooting back at a normal festival and slowly just get waved, pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. What happened here is people are pushing in this way. People are pushing into the front and pushing in this way. And it's just pushing everyone backwards like at a normal festival. But you can't keep going backwards. It just hits the fence. So as you're hitting the fence, you're just getting more and more people are filling up in the fence. More and more people are hitting the fence, and it's just creating smaller and smaller space. So after like a minute of the first song, everyone surges to the front, surges into the sides, and people are just trapped in this section.
And on you know, theoretically, on my personal opinion, I think all those people were possessed. And once we play the intro, the intro, I don't know if it was beforehand or if that had anything to do with it. That aside from that, there's also testimonies of kids saying that there was noises being played on that stage throughout the day. Not music, noises, deep
like ambient
frequencies. No, like wah 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 wah. Chanting behind that. So
like
that
pulses
alone,
and stuff.
Yeah, and they said that would freak them out. That was freaking them out. So honestly, without further ado, because there's so much more that we can talk about and I can say, but I want to do it while we right after we play the clips. So
okay, just to give context for me, where I'm coming from before going into the clip is, you know, I've been kind of like out of the loop for quite a few weeks. That's why, you know, we've been on our kind of absent for a minute. So this was one of those stories that was so prominent that like that's the only way that I caught wind of it, is that it has been such a big deal, kind of like the Alec Baldwin story and all these, you know, events have been happening lately, that it's interesting which stories are pushed to the forefront, because obviously, you know, not to make light of the situation, but people are dying every day, and it's just interesting which stories that the news like catches hold on to. And of course, this one involves a celebrity. It's a high like profile event, so that makes sense that it would get so much coverage. But also, it's interesting the way the narrative of this event has been streamlined. And so yeah, so all I knew are the headlines of the at least 8 people have, you know, and many of them minors, have passed away from as a result, and that social media has been blowing up with a lot of theories and criticisms of how the event was handled. But I haven't seen any footage of the concert itself, aside from like really short clips from news media reports. And yeah, so I'm interested to see what this is on the boots. So without further ado, just one moment. Okay, so this is a video of the full performance. However, we're only going to play like 30 seconds of it, but already very interesting imagery and set design. And already I'm getting some vibes like some previous casts that we've done when we did the weekend's performance of the Super Bowl and previous Super Bowls, like with J-Lo and Shakira and stuff, how, you know, it's not a coincidence, and there's been repeated patterns over decades of having, over centuries really, of having right. certain symbolism and imageries and synchronicities, and that, yeah, these are rituals. Like anyone who's gone to church, you know, realizes that in order to connect with the spirit world, we do a certain sequence of activities. So and you have certain imagery and idols and stuff because they generate different energies. So already very interesting set, but we're going to play some of this video for you. So this is begins with a countdown.
Lot of comments about the set design.
And we just had that volcano that's been going off that a lot of people. Oh wow. The goat for having the festival live on Apple. Apple with its symbolism with the bite out of Apple. Oh look, he has 8 streams of fire.
Yes.
Did they know there was going to be 8?
I knew you were going to catch that. No, I don't think
And I'm not familiar with this performer otherwise or with his music, but I hear this song is called Escape Plan.
so. This song came out, I think a day before this.
Oh, really? It was just released.
He premiered it 24 hours beforehand.
Oh, wow. Wow, and how that eye's moving around like it's watching the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps like glitching in and out. It's like digital.
That doesn't even sound normal, and a lot of people have attested to his energy just being completely different. You know,
right.
Accusing him of being on drugs.
Like that strobe effect and the syncopation of the beat as well. It's like almost like a strobe light, but like vibrationally.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it
very
was
like discording. And look, it's like a 6-pointed star, even like the glare from the lights.
So there's 10 lights up top and then 12 on the inner circle.
Oh. Is this when stuff started?
Oh no, stuff was already happening.
All through this?
Yeah, do you want to pause it?
That was just the end of the Escape Plan song?
That was just the end of the first song, and that this is when stuff was already happening. There's clips and videos of people already sinking into piles and piles of sinkholes of bodies.
Because it was right, they rushed the stage right when he came on?
Right.
When he did that first jump or whatever? They
rushed the stage right when, according to a lot of testimonies, they rushed the stage at the 10-second mark of the countdown.
Oh, wow.
It got super, super condensed. And nobody was able to move. A lot of people said they were just stuck with their arms up in the air like this, or down by their sides. Either way, unable to breathe.
Approximately 50,000 people attending global superstar Travis Scott's sold-out festival in Houston when authorities say the crowd began surging the stage. One fan seen here being lifted off the ground and carried out. 300 people had to be treated. Fans reporting having to gasp for air, crushed in the crowd.
I could feel myself like if I was drowning underwater, like I was gasping for air and I couldn't get it, and I was screaming like I've never screamed before, and nobody could hear me.
Again, you know, it's normal. He's normal. But again, in this situation, it isn't. There's no room to escape. There wasn't room to mosh. There wasn't room to breathe. On top of that, the fact that this was very family friendly. This event was very, for some reason, a lot of the teenagers claimed that they've never seen so many families in their lives here. That, I don't know why there were so many kids. It's not really for kids. A lot of people attested to seeing parents carry the kids on their shoulders, trying to get out, trying to escape.
Oh, wow.
There's actually, it's been reported that there's a 9-year-old boy who's in a coma right now, who fell off of his dad's shoulders.
9 years old, that young?
Yeah. And
wow.
he was trampled on.
And we begin with a breaking update none of us wanted to hear or report. After 6 days on life support, when he was injured at Astroworld, 9-year-old Ezra Blount has died. Ezra was on his father's shoulders for the Travis Scott show, but he fell and was trampled after his father passed out. Ezra is now the 10th young person to die after getting injured in the crowd surge.
On top of that, a lot of these people, including this 9-year-old, ended up having heart attacks. They all went into cardiac arrest. And, we could talk COVID, we could talk vaccinations, we can talk all that. But I think aside from that, with the sheer exhaustion, the fact that these people were given limited water, so a lot of them were dehydrated, the fact that I would imagine a lot of them are on drugs, we can blame it on the vaccine and whatnot. And we can go that route. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. I think more than anything, though, what to me, and this is what scares me a little bit more than even the sacrifice itself, is that this event was preparing these people all day. What's that movie called where something magnetic pulse happens and people just drop dead? It's a sci-fi movie, but that's kind of what I akin it to.
It's make me think of The King's Men with Samuel L. Jackson. It's like they don't, but it like makes them rage and stuff, where they were fighting and trying to kill each other because
that's exactly what it sounds like. Right. Yeah, but it was through the speakers, and these kids are saying that it was happening
all day. Wow.
Yeah. So
it was
building up to that.
They wanted them to rush the stage, and they've been really like headlining that as the escalation of the event and stuff like.
And I haven't told anybody this part yet, because it's gross and it's sad. A couple of girls in their testimony have witnessed. They said they witnessed children, babies, with shit and piss all over their pants, because out of the terror that babies were crying, and they had pooped themselves because they were so scared. If you notice, Travis Scott's pants look like he shit himself. Like, I was like, why the fuck would he wear pants like that? They're jeans, but they're blotched and bleached, and they have brown patches and darker brown patches, and they just look very disoriented. And it's like, dude, you look like you shit your pants. And it wasn't until I heard those testimonials that kind of makes me think, like, well, maybe, it's one of those inversions. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just sickened me to my core to hear that. Well, you saw the opening. So they consciously decided to open a show that terrifying, knowing that families were there, not just kids, not just teenagers, not just the same crowd that goes to Knott's Scary Farm. And
was it marketed to children?
Yes.
Astroworld Fest in full swing, but now with extra security.
We want to show you what it looked like when the festival opened its doors today.
This summer strong, and we got another stretch. November come, won't you pop out at the fest? Feeling on my mind, it's a movie. It was just one night, it felt like a sci-fi. We dodging the sun, only way we come alive. Even on the run, how you do that? How you do that?
On top of it being marketed to children, he's one of the main characters of Fortnite, which is a game.
Oh, right, for a kid's game. So kids follow him.
In April of 2020, Travis Scott was the star of Fortnite's first virtual concert event, in which he was digitally recreated as a huge avatar who performed above the Battle Royale map. Epic reported the in-game event was viewed by 12.3 million players worldwide.
He has the Travis Scott Happy Meal, or the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
So, like, yeah, it's you know,
so he's really high profile
right. I assume
I don't follow.
Parents do this thinking that he is tailor-made for kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? And which I wouldn't understand, because all of his songs have the word pussy in it. I mean, I don't know if he talks about drugs. He does talk about drugs, but his songs are basic nothing. They're nothing songs, but they talk about the typical bullshit that you would expect in rap.
Right.
But still not kid friendly. Still not kid friendly regardless. Now, again, we didn't listen to kid friendly music either. So, you know, just times haven't changed that much. The only other thing that you know, I can say about it, you know, as far as like the intro is it terrified me, and I wasn't even there. So, you know, I can't imagine what it was like for those kids who are already on the floor, whether they chose to sit on the floor out of survival mode or whether they were pushed down on the floor by the other kids. You know, that moment had already happened even before he entered the stage. And then for him to have entered the stage and do a song called Escape Plan while kids were trying to escape with their lives, I can't imagine how much fear that portal actually was able to suck in that moment. That terrifies me. Whether Satan is real or not at that point is irrelevant. That energy was real. That fear was real. You want to compare it to anything, since we all know 9/11, we can compare it to that. The terror and the fear of knowing I have two choices: to burn alive or to plummet to my death. Same thing, same hell. Only this man actually replicated hell. If any of you have seen the videos, or Miss Kelly later, if you want to, the time you see them, there are people yelling, "Help me, help us, help me!" And it's just like, oh my God, that's exactly what hell would sound like. And that's exactly what it
people in a
like.
pit and like trying to reach up and like to, it's like a quicksand.
He pulled it off. And it's not something, if we don't see it yet, man, that scares the hell out of me. If we can't see it yet, that was an exact replication of hell. The portal, the see you on the other side, all of it put together. The fact that his t-shirt, I mean, it's so beyond.
What day did it happen on?
The 5th. Remember the 5th of November.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was
and
on
it's
Saturday?
the same day as my sister's
Friday.
wedding. Friday. It was a Friday. So it's an interesting thing, because my sister's wedding was a joyous occasion. There was a lot of love in the air. So it's funny that's a weird, like, I'm hoping that there was way more yin and yang than just my sister's wedding that night. Because again, that night was pure magic. To wake up, in fact, I didn't even hear about it Saturday. I heard about it Sunday when I got home. You know what I mean? Like, that whole weekend was just pure love, pure celebration, pure good energy. So I got bombarded with it, and I've been consumed by it since. You know, since Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I've been consumed by it. Just pulling the pieces together, just trying to figure out exactly what happened. Get the hell out of here! 8 people died by a goddamn needle. Okay, first of all.
I was wondering about the day of it, because 8 is one of the numbers of Saturn. So I was wondering if it was like a sacrifice on Saturn Day. And Saturn is also the card or god of like judgment and stuff like that. And it had elements of that with the hell and of having a judgment. The
8 flames, the 8 rings of Saturn. The 8 sacrifices.
But that's interesting that it would be on Friday, because that's also Friday is Venus, which is the morning star, which is Lucifer. And then also with it being Guy Fawkes days, because there was protest worldwide over this new issuing of, you know, this child jab mandates, and just in general to, you know, that they're extending these lockdowns and all these, even though there's, you know, so much contrary to it, that they're still going on with the agenda, and people are over it. Even Bill Mayer, declared COVID is over. That it's ridiculous for us to still be having our masks and everything at this point. But so there's, I imagine, especially on Guy Fawkes Day, a day of protest and V for Vendetta and all that, anonymous, that maybe there were so many global protests that they needed a story to overshadow it. And it's interesting that the festival happened to be in Houston, which is one of the states that has been so leaning towards more conservative values and sovereigns and self-sustainability and all those kinds of things. A lot of people have left California to go to Texas. So it's interesting, of all places in the US, that's like the focus hold right now is Houston, and how there's criticisms of how the festival was run and all those kinds of things. So now it's, problem, reaction, solution of what type of regulations are they going to have to usher in to make sure this doesn't happen again, and all those kinds of things. I don't know. It's just really interesting, all the implications of the event beyond just the tragedy of those lives that were lost and those people traumatized by it or that were injured.
I'm really happy that you brought all of that up, because in a lot of the testimonials as I was watching it again, it's almost like picking the dry clothes off the clothesline. This one's not dry yet. This one's not, and then you basically tossing out the bullshit. Not to disrespect anybody who was there or not, but a lot of the videos seemed disingenuous. I saw one in particular of one of the victims where the brother's crying but not really, and it just seemed very overdone. Again, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm calling bullshit as I see it, as I've seen it in the last several years. That's all I'm saying. I didn't like it. It seemed very disingenuous. On top of that, this family spoke a lot of legalese as far as like, get prepared because we're about to get a lot of money out of you.
A lot. You've been hearing a lot of lawyers pop up and speaking on behalf of like different groups of the goers and stuff like that, and the case against it. And
you don't lose your brother and then the first thing you think is money. Sorry, it doesn't happen. Nobody does that.
How much do they owe me?
Nobody does that. So there's that. More so than that, back to what you were saying. Right off the bat, these kids say their first red flag is that they didn't check for COVID vaccination cards. They didn't check for tests. Right off the bat, that was the first red flag for them, is that they didn't check us for anything like that. They didn't check our COVID cards. They didn't see if anybody had it, this and that. That was the very first thing they went to, mind you.
And weren't there like 50,000 people there?
50,000 people. Well,
like they're checking stats to go into like a bar nowadays. Like they're not going to check.
Yeah. That being said,
and then
that venue holds up to 200,000 people.
Oh wow.
So right, exactly. Yeah. So there's that. So I mean, again, the stories most of the time, for the most part, seem very real, very, very genuine. They all said the same thing. None of them seem to have been even in the same sections outside of their claims to being in the VIP section, whether they were there by ticket purchase or there because they had to escape general admission. Because a lot of them ended up in VIP escaping general admission. And by all accounts, they mentioned seeing 10 or more bodies that were Black and blue. So there was way more than 8 people that passed away. Whether 8 people were the actual sacrifice, which is why it's the prominent number being put out there,
right,
is its own thing. But
like we've covered on past casts about like the headlines and the numerology that they
exactly.
It's improbable that it could be that
improbable.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say impossible. By all these
astronomical.
They have been saying hundreds and hundreds of bodies that were being pulled out and pulled out. And these kids were traumatized. They were running on adrenaline. They were running on the truth that they saw. So it's scary. On top of that, not having enough medics.
Mark on my face from stepping on my face. So like you can literally see the fucking shoe print on my face, the streaks, everything. Like it was insane. Finally, the medical lady that was talking to me came back, and she told me, go over there next to the exit. They're going to take you over to the medical tent. I didn't know where she was pointing at. So I just started walking towards the exit. They had like a little golf cart. So I thought that's where she meant to, you know, stand there and they're going to take me. So I went over there. There were 2 paramedics that were working on somebody, and it looked pretty serious. So I didn't want to interrupt, so I just stood there. 2 cops came over, like, in a hurry. They started screaming at the paramedics. They said, you need to get the fuck over there. Someone needs CPR right now. The paramedics were like, we can't leave. Like, we're helping this person. And the cops were like, we don't give a fuck. You need to go fucking over there. Someone needs fucking CPR. And, like, at that moment, I was like, something's not right. Like, this is not okay. Why don't they have other medical staff? Like, you know. So, you know, finally the paramedics, like, you know, you see it in their face. Like, they feel like they have no choice. So they get out the lights. They put it on their little cart. You know, they start racing over to wherever it is. You know, it isn't until later that I saw the videos that I'm like, damn, like, they were rushing to whoever needed help. And you know, they couldn't get through towards the crowd.
It just seems like all of this was an absolute deliberate formula for disaster.
Right.
For one reason or another. Yeah. If nothing makes it more real that the portal has actually been opened and that evil and good are now in their own battle. If this isn't the thing that tells you this is actually what's going on, we're not sure what's going to wake anybody up. I honestly think a line has been drawn in the sand. They want the crazies to come out. And by crazies, I mean us, the people who are trying to put a stop to it, because God and Jesus have been made fun of for years and years and years and years now. And I myself have been a part of that, you know, pulling myself away from what is real and what is true and what is right. But the more I see shit like this, the more thankful I am that, dude, I put myself on the right side and right on time, basically. You know what I mean? It's
being raised as Christians, you know, we were taught about the end times and the persecution of Christians throughout history, as, you know, different generations have had their own like version of the end times for their generation. But I think like this, like you said, is the line in the sand. Like in the end times, the devil is supposed to be, you know, like coming out of hiding, and that those that follow must like worship him in the broad daylight, you know, in the open, and proudly so. And that's what these rituals and things are demonstrating. That's no coincidence. It takes like, how much did that set cost? You know, how many people were involved in the design and construction of it? You know, there's no like, oh, we just have this piece, I guess we'll throw it together. Oh, it looks like an eyeball, I guess. You know?
Yeah, right? No,
like, turns out, oh, it's a donkey.
Oh, it's a donkey.
And people are going to call me crazy. People are going to, you know, come for me, but I don't care. I just did not feel good when I was walking on those grounds. Especially when I got closer to, so there's this like big Travis Scott statue near like where the games are. And the closer I got, I just got a really weird feeling. Like I just took a picture of it and left. I was like, I don't like this energy. I don't like this vibe. I'm gonna put a picture of it so you guys know what I'm talking about. So as you can see, this is a pretty big statue. There's like the people walking by, but yeah, I got a really bad feeling. I just took the picture and left.
And in one of his past shows, and again, I don't know much about the fella, but he apparently had Moloch, and you walk into Moloch's mouth. Literally the owl, like literally the owl with the wings and like everything.
And his show is called The Mountain, and that's one of the Illuminati phrases or Masonic phrases that they key to each other is "I've been to the mountain top." So it's interesting that he's like coming off of like being on the mountain, and he's projected on it and with the flames and stuff. So it's like a, you know, hellish mountain, and then the portal. And I forget if we've covered CERN in this, or like the different timelines, but like the Higgs boson and the splitting of the God particle and all that kind of stuff, that yeah, these different portals and even these different technologies of, there's been a lot of talk about aliens lately, and even I think the FBI or CIA came out with official documents saying that, oh yeah, there's aliens, but there's too much going on. People are like, yeah. So be it. But that if they're preparing us for like accepting aliens and like this new, I think we're going to have like a jump in, even with having all these billionaires that have been rocketing to space and stuff like that. I think that they're preparing us for that next like technological leap of sorts. And that even with Musk's like Tesla and Nikola Tesla having those type of zero energy technologies using like turbines and cylindrical force and things like that, that's what these portal designs, like that concaveness and the different lights and stuff like that, like that's not for nothing. It's funneling, if not only sound and acoustics, vibrations as a whole. And there was like a portal with like a demonic image over the bridge of it, even entering into the festival. Then it was like they're in this like cave or like pit of it, all funneling towards the very front of the stage that had that other portal or arches on it.
I'm kind of hoping that anybody watching is kind of unfamiliar with it, because another perfect example as to what this is, and everybody's been there, is Disneyland.
Yep.
Disneyland has the same exact motive, the same exact design. You literally walk into a portal and everything changes. We've said it many times before. Now it's different. The energy is different. The vibe is different. You're happy. But on
it's kind of like Monsters Inc., how they learned that like instead of fear, they garnered more energy from laughter.
Right.
It's like there's a high vibe when you go to Disneyland, but even their technologies of Main Street, like how it's a corridor or a channel funneling down, and then you have the hub, and then how it goes into the the merry-go-round with the horses. That's like another spinning turbine that it's suctioning the energy and then dispersing the negative ions. A toroidal coil, or I forget the term of it, but yeah, those type of like technologies are embedded into Disneyland, and they're utilized in these different rituals and performances.
Absolutely. And what it makes you do is it on a physical, on a mental level, it makes you forget. And forgetting is in itself a form of possession. It makes you forget. Oh, my bills. It makes me forget my life. Oh, my car. Oh, my this. Oh, when you walk into Disneyland, nothing else matters but Disneyland. And I think in events like this, events as powerful and atmospheric as any concert, to be honest, every concert has good or bad vibes. I've personally never been to an event where I've had bad vibes unless I did it to myself. Getting too drunk, taking drugs and freaking out, which thank God I learned my lesson so fast, because I want to have a good time. I don't want to have negative experiences. So lesson learned. And most people, when they go to festivals, when they go to concerts, they learn the same lesson. Hydrate, eat, don't get too drunk. We've all been there, we've all done it. And we either learn a lesson or we end up dead on the side, dehydrated. That's really all there is to it. People die at concerts all the time. People die at festivals all the time. That is their own choice. It's a choice that most of us choose not to make eventually, if you like living, you know what I mean? So there's that side of it. That side's probably never going to change. Everybody, but the thing is, we all walk into these events expecting to have a good time. Something happened here where those people walked into that event and forgot completely who they were. Completely. Where they weren't even human anymore. They were trampling over each other before it even started, breaking down gates, like I said, conspiring to hurt other people that they don't even know. A lot of kids called it lawless. And these are the same, I'm gonna imagine a good 70% of these kids are the same kids that don't even want police, that don't even want, that think the police don't give a shit about them, that think the authorities and this and that, and we don't need law and we need chaos and this and that. Order through chaos, right? Order through chaos. This is what the elites want. This is what they have physically said with their mouths, order through chaos. And they said it slip of the tongue half the time. Who said it? George Bush has said it.
Also offers a rare opportunity to move toward an historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge, a new era.
And freedom is beautiful. And, you know, it'll take time to restore chaos and order, but order out of chaos, but we will. Yeah, John.
And it accidentally slipped out. This is what they want, and this is what they're brainwashing and teaching these kids, that this is how life works now.
I don't follow along with them very much, but when Drake came on the stage, one of the news reports called him Mr. Chaos. Is that Drake's like new name, or is his nickname?
No idea.
I don't know if it was just that like news report or something, or if it was just that particular
I know
announcer.
him as Champagne Papi. That's all I know him as. And Drizzy Drake. And yeah, I don't know that one. That's crazy though. Were they talking about him or Travis Scott? Because I would see if anybody.
They were referring to Drake as he was coming on stage. So they were saying, they were like accounting like how first like 10 minutes of it, how people were climbing on stage, and how Travis Scott did stop, but then he resumed. And then they were saying, and then once Mr. Chaos, Drake, came on the stage, it was like this. It went to a whole other level.
At 9:38 p.m., police declaring the scene a mass casualty incident. Shortly after, Scott pausing his song Skeletons to acknowledge someone in distress.
We need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right here.
But police and medics seen tending to fans even as the show carries on for nearly 40 more minutes. Amidst the chaos, Drake joined Scott on stage. He posted these images from the night on his Instagram.
Now, let me tell you, like I said, I told you, I watched the whole performance on YouTube. There are videos, and I don't know if because I've only seen it one time, but there's a video circling around where he acknowledges the two people on the stage, the girl and the gentleman that were trying to get them to stop the show. And he says, "Who asked me to stop? Who asked me to stop?" And that's all you hear, and then the clip stops. But on the YouTube version, that's not on there at all. I looked for it. I looked for Who Asked Me to Stop, and it's not there. Not at all. What is there is the other clip where he acknowledges the guy who's unconscious, and he stops the concert there. Mm-hmm. He acknowledges the ambulance, and so those two clips are definitely there. But that one where he says, "Who asked me to stop? Who asked me to stop?" is nowhere to be found on that YouTube video, in that hour and 20-minute video. So I thought that was kind of weird that they would take that one off particularly. Again, you do see him, and you do see the two guys who's performing with him walk up to him, but they whisper something to him, and he basically says, "Nah, fuck that. You know what you came here to do." And this is while the audience is begging him to stop. And he's like, "Fuck you guys. You know what you came here to do." So whatever that means, you know what you came here to do, whether it means he thinks that, whether he's ignorant and he thinks it's still time to party, or he's telling them it's time for you to die. You know what I mean? It's eerie. It's eerie because on all accounts are like, all these kids are shocked that he didn't stop. They're shocked. They're like, "Why didn't you stop? Why didn't he stop?"
And he had resumed, and you could like audibly hear the crowd. Like they can hear the crowd, especially when they're all chanting the same thing, yes. Like just like they sing along or something like that. There were so many people screaming, "Help me!" Yes. That there's no way that he couldn't hear that. And there's a time where like he did stop initially, but then the ambulance, or they were taking away another unconscious person, and his back was turned, like he was just oblivious to it and ignoring it. Where there's no way you're not seeing somebody dragged out the concert that close to you.
And I think that's what terrified a lot of them the most, is that they couldn't believe that he wouldn't stop. That they were praying that it would be over so they can just get out. And they really couldn't believe that he wasn't stopping. And for them to feel that way,
that they were trapped like that.
Not just that, they had to have been in a position where he could hear them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If not hear them, at least see them. He saw several things happening. So it's not like he didn't know. It's not like he didn't know. There's no way in hell we can argue, he has an earpiece in, so he didn't know anything. Yes, he has an earpiece in. It's possible he didn't hear things, but he saw with his own two eyes that somebody was convulsing and somebody was unconscious. And that wasn't enough for him to stop. He saw the ambulance trying to get through. That still wasn't enough for him to stop. He saw the ambulance not moving. He didn't say, hey, move, you guys, get out of the way. Come on, man. None of that happened. So that's beyond me. That is, I've never seen that before in my life, whether I was at a show or just watching it on TV. I've never seen that before in my life. You know,
for as much as he performed, you would think that he'd also be able to recognize what an abnormal crowd looks like seeing hands like so squished reaching out of a body. Like that seems like an unsafe convention of
right.
Aftermath, some controversies have resurfaced. The singer's events have previously been criticized for being dangerous, even leading to run-ins with the law.
You know, raging and, you know, having fun and expressing good feelings is something I plan on just like doing and spreading across the globe.
In 2015, Travis pled guilty to reckless conduct charges after he was accused of starting a stampede at Lollapalooza.
I always wanted to make it feel like it was the WWF or some shit.
And in 2018, Travis pled guilty to disorderly conduct, 9 months after allegedly inciting a riot at a show in Arkansas. Authorities at the time said Travis encouraged people to bypass security and rush the stage.
Especially because if you continue to watch the performance, I kind of hope you do, because there's probably going to be shit that you're going to catch that I didn't. But nobody's cheering. It's quiet.
Right. Wow.
It's murmurs. You hear murmurs, like maybe 4 or 5 songs in. You hear just murmurs, like silence. It's weird, Kamiko. It's like so weird. Like it's weird. It's off-putting, and I can't imagine what these kids went through. There was a good majority that did have a good time because they know how to survive a show like that, and then there's that other side who were basically there just to have the energy and fear sucked out of them. And I feel bad for those people. I mean, I really can't wrap my head around exactly how it happened the way it did. Because again, I've been to shows where they were tight and it gets scary. It can get scary. If you panic, it can get scary. And of course they're going to panic. We've been locked down for 2 years. There hasn't been good events. So that's probably a lot of people's first event back. They wanted the panic. They wanted the anxiety. They wanted that terror, that fear. And they got what they wanted. And that breaks my heart. I had a good powwow on Sunday night after I watched it, or while I was watching it. I was basically just talking to God, man. Just like, how can this happen? How can they be so evil? How can this, I was beside myself, just hearing the cries and like understanding that there was piles and piles of bodies on top of each other, screaming and begging for help. Like, I can't imagine that. I've never gone to a show where you don't go and you pick somebody up right away. I've never seen that before, where there's blatant disregard for human life. And anybody who did disregard somebody when they're supposed to pick them up, those are the ones that got their ass kicked. Bro, what the fuck, dude? He was trying to have you, like, get the fuck out of the pit, man. Like, you can't help, like, if you didn't pick somebody up, they got kicked out. Like, what the fuck, bro? You saw him on the floor. You know, I've seen that, but I've never seen the opposite. Where, like,
well, a lot of accounts of people said that they were trying to like grab on or hold on to, you know, and it was just like the weight of it was too much or the pull of it was too much, and they just got sucked in.
Lost and sucked in. Those words, those specific words. I was sucked in. We were sucked in. How do you get sucked into other bodies?
They're describing it as a sinkhole, you know.
Oh, God.
Like that pit. And people can't dismiss it as just being, you know, feigning ignorance of the performer, because you know, like he did notice it on several occasions. There's moments where footage caught him like looking towards the crowd or adjusting it, or he did stop at least that first time, so he already knew that there was, you know, distress. And then even on his apology video, it was very eerie because they say like he was tearful, but you know, he wasn't like sobbing or anything like somebody who felt responsible for life being lost, you know. No. He was like kept rubbing over his third eye with his hand in a weird like 6 formation even.
Prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time.
I don't know. There was just
I
a
didn't
lot
even
of
catch that, but
oddity
I did
to
catch
it.
him rubbing his head. I didn't catch
Yeah.
that he was even making, wow. And I, oh my goodness. And yes, it was very disingenuous. It was very disingenuous. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right at the same time as them having the timing of it also is interesting because we just went through Halloween and, you know, All Saints Day, and which is like a period of when the veil between the spirit world is, you know, lessened. So we're still in that kind of like initial phase and period. And the timing with the children's, you know, jab mandates, that it was like a targeting on the youth, that they were, you know, attracting youth to this concert. And that is one of the headlines of the story, of that there were minors involved in the incident. So it's
youngest victim is 14 years old. So I want to go through and share what we know about each one of these victims. So young, such young lives cut short.
A threshold, a percentage of children vaccinated that is the point where you feel like, okay, now we're starting to break the back of the pandemic. We will be able to reduce the outbreak if we can get to X percentage of children vaccinated.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Not to be insensitive to it, because it is a tragedy that the lives were lost, but also I'm so jaded with, you know, like these false flag events. And not to say that this was a false flag in that it's all pretend or that no one was hurt, but a false flag as in like it's the preparation and the intention that went behind it, and the problem, reaction, solution of how they utilize it's happening. So now, you know, just not letting our focus be misdirected, and like some people are mad at Travis Scott, but like for the wrong reasons, I guess. I don't know, like not just that he's being, it wasn't that he was irresponsible, you know, it's that this is all very intentional. Like, look at his costuming and like the portal of the little figures, you know, going through with the red and blue or whatever, as if they're walking through a dimension on his shirt.
Looking even closer to this shit, keep this right here. Now right here you can see all these little puppets walking through what it looks like a window, like a portal window, coming out the other side, right? As I'm over here looking at the performance and shit like that, I'm over here looking, I'm trying to figure out and see as many different symbolic natures in this performance as possible. I'm trying to pay attention to everything. I keep my eyes open. I want to know what's going on. But then I saw this. He's wearing a shirt that has the same imagery on the post on the flyer, okay? The difference is that on the shirt, it's more evident as to what's going on. Now pay attention to this shit, bro. We have right here blue figures, just figures, blue figures representing good, crossing through this portal on the way to the other side, and coming out red with devil horns.
In that altitude, okay, it's stuck like madness. Do I put you in that magnitude? Okay, I embrace it, pussy. I'm not trying to embarrass you. Okay, I got a lavish crew, me chase a rocket, data drew me busy trap. I'm not a rapper, a lot I do, a lot I chew. A film director, helter skelter, off the salsa like it's juice. 12-figure stage plan, that was the escape plan, but ain't investigating. That shit was a waste, man, but wait, I stopped the facing, cause shit just started racing, but wait, it opened gates, and it shit just stopped parading. Oh, lady out the basement, on one floor where it's vacant. She feeling anxious to be out where it's dangerous, okay.
Or, you know, and like that's open stance that they do in front of the flames or the phoenix and all those things, all these symbols of like death and the rebirth that comes from it. So I think the biggest thing is not to, because that's what they want, is the fear and the negativity. So not only did they harness it then in that moment at the event, but now from this ripple effect of the news reports going across the nation, around the world, and everybody mourning for these children. And not to say we shouldn't mourn, but like harness that energy and like repurpose it. We can't just like sit in that sorrow of it and like avenge them in a sense of like, we need to have more virtue, add more of that positive energy into the pool of the collective, because like we battle not against like people or enemies, but principalities and dark deeds and dark places or those kinds of things. So the devil is coming out into open, and we need to be able to call it. And that is the persecution that's going to come to be, is that like those of morality and virtue who revere and uphold all those things of help your fellow man and do unto others, and of cleanliness is godliness, and wanting to take care of the planet, not in this agenda sustainability, like climate change kind of way, but in an actual like self-sufficient, like permaculture type way. So
yeah,
we're going to feel more
when your fellow man falls, you pick him up.
Right.
It's physical, it's metaphoric, it's all of it. When your fellow man falls to the ground, you pick his ass up. That's the only way we're going to survive.
And now they're like changing the narrative because the pandemic is like losing its steam, or its fear factor to it now. That now they're having to divide and conquer through the two camps of, yes, you should be able to exclude people from society who haven't had the procedure, the mandated procedure. So they're dividing us that way. And then also now they're dividing us just in people having a perception that your fellow man's not going to help you out, that it's like every man for himself, or that you can't be in the public because the public is dangerous for you to go to like these type of events. So if they can't like tell us to stay home and lock down because of a virus, they're going to say, well, you have to stay home and lock down now because look what happens when you gather. You're gonna trample each other. You can't be trusted. Well, don't worry, we'll regulate you better next time. We'll have you like all get scanned or something to make sure, and like we'll have you all spaced out or whatever their solution to this is going to be. But like in the Bible, it says where two or more of you gather, there am I also. So it's intentional how they're using all these opportunities to disperse us, to make us like, as a parent, if like our children are younger, so we're not quite like at that stage where, but like you said, the 9-year-old, so like it's not that far off, I guess. But if I were to be a parent of a teenager, how hesitant would you be to let them go to a concert now? Right. And all these teenagers already had a year and a half or so off of regular school, where they would have been able to socialize and interact and get all that really valuable human experience of how to work together in a community and stuff like that. And now, they're going to miss out on these opportunities. Like you said, there's a normal version of how a festival goes, and those skills that you learn, just like if you're going to go on a hike, make sure you pack your water, and not to like be insensitive to someone who doesn't and gets into a situation of desperation. But like, that's just the self-care and that you have to have, is that you have to be aware of your environment and how to defend yourself and persevere through that. So, if you're going to a festival, you have to know like, okay, I'm going to have to hydrate. I'm going to have to be mindful of my space, and that fights always break out at a festival because you're having so many condensed people. That's why there's supposed to be security to help evade that. So, but you also have to be mindful of if somebody's arguing around you, like don't be all up in their business or be close to it, because just in case somebody takes a swing, you might be collateral damage of that. So some of it is just like a self-protection that we have to have, but the tendency of the narrative now is to lean into having a big brother, protect us from ourselves because we can't be trusted.
Right. Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because what I am seeing on the news is, well, who's responsible? Who are we going to hold accountable for this? Who's responsible? And it's the fans. It's the fans' fault. It's Travis Scott's fault. It's his fault. It's that, so they definitely did. And it happening on the 5th of November. I think that's the last day of Dia de los Muertos, the celebration. I think we go the whole week from the 1st to the 5th, right? If I remember correctly. So I'm wondering if they were just trying to keep that portal open. I mean, we got to keep in mind that they have been putting death in our face for the last 2 years. Death itself.
Having a death toll on your like TV screen channel.
I mean, it's been shoved in our faces, and the second we are trying to forget all about it, they bring it right back. I honestly do feel like they're just trying to keep this disgusting veil of death over us, because much like at the show, we're all just drowning and just like crabs in a barrel trying to grasp into like, please, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Please tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Every single one of us is waiting for the light at the end of that tunnel. That show, I mean, again, a recipe for disaster for many, 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 many reasons. But on top of that, you hit on something. They don't know how to interact. They have never been taught. Screw the concert aspect aside, interacting with each other as humans, they haven't done that in years.
We're rusty at peopling.
Some of these kids went through puberty alone.
Right.
Some of these kids, you know what I'm saying? Like a recipe for disaster. That is why everybody's talking, and it just hit me right now. Everybody's talking about this generation. These kids are so fucked up, and this. It's really not that. It's not that this generation is more selfish. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
They're on top of, they're the weirdo homeschool kids without the Jesus aspect.
Right.
What the hell? That's
it's
exactly
like
what
the
they
criticism
are.
of millennials being such snowflakes or whatever. It kind of reminds me of like nuclear reactor worker people, how they have like the wall and then they have the gloves that they reach through, so that way their body's separate as they're engaging with the material. And this generation has that, but like with their phone, with this Zoom and the digital presence, that they're like reaching through and trying to play with the world and like interact and like, hi friend, but it's like through a wall. They're not actually there together. They're not able to, like, that's why the gloves are there. So you can't absorb the energy and the elements of the contaminant or the thing that's in the enclosure. So we're preventing ourselves from being influenced by each other. And that's one of the most important aspects of relationship. Like the Onion Nin quote of like, each person that you meet opens a new world of you, and that's how we expand, is by engaging and meeting other people. But it's limited when it's on this digital force, because it's infinite and then contained at the same time, because it has all these restrictions of the algorithms and the rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff. And then you're not there, so you can't really feel somebody's energy. There's so much room for misinterpretation and miscommunication. Like how many people have had miscommunication through text message because you can't understand their inflections, or like that Key and Peele skit of, like when they're texting and one of them's getting really irate because he's like, oh, what? Whenever I come over, whenever. Oh, sure.
Oh, that's considerate. Like I said, whatever.
Like I said, whatever? Fuck this guy! Jesus, you
are fucking priceless.
And the other one just like,
wherever you want to go.
Oh, that's funny. I forgot all about that one. But I mean, and you're right. They've been living their lives through avatars, basically.
Right.
So
right.
when you see
this
something,
whole meta, like it's not, we've been in it.
Right. It's so it's that.
He's taken.
Reflect who we are and what we hope to build. I'm proud to announce that we are now Facebook.
What they don't understand is that you can't trample on somebody and they're just going to get up like they do in the video game. Silly kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They'll respawn.
I don't think that blatant disregard is out of selfishness. I think it's out of inexperience. Exactly. They'll respond. They'll get up. They're fine. Fuck them. I got things to do. I got to get to this gate. I got to take this selfie. I got to do this. You know what I mean? Yes.
It reminds me of that
selfish,
Louis C.K. quote of like, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk about but the Louis C.K. Part in like one of his episodes where he's talking to his daughters and one of the daughters was getting jealous of the other one, and he says the only reason you look in another person's bowl is to make sure they have enough. And like this is perpetuating a generation that's the like reflection or the like polar opposite of that.
Right.
Of like looking to see if like I am measuring up, am I enough? Because we're so insecure, and even insecurity is still an ego as much as anger or aggression or these other things. This fear too is an ego because we're denying ourselves the faith and confidence in the strength and eternity of God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more that, and that's a tough one. That's a tough one to do, because a lot of the kids were saying also, I don't really believe in God that much, but I was praying for him to save me and to take me to heaven just in case this was it, and things like that.
Oh, wow.
That could be a wake up call. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And that being said, I was a kid, I was a teenager, I grew up in church. So the furthest thing I wanted to do was be involved in church because I was there, I've been there. And, maybe a lot of these kids have similar experiences, and, you can't just, I don't personally want to lump any of these kids in a certain category, because I honestly, they are going through a lot. Us as adults can barely handle this pandemic.
Right.
You know what I mean? These kids, they're going through a lot, and we have to take that into consideration and understand that their vulnerability is probably 1,000 times more fragile than ours was, because of the things that they're going through and the constant changes and the fear that they have to wake up in every day.
Right.
And my mask, and this and that. They're going through an entirely different experience than we can't even imagine. So that alone is probably the biggest psychological barrier with these kids, on top of wanting so desperately to have fun and go to these shows, to have something like that happen at this show, to understand that now they may never go to a festival or concert again. They may never interact with their friends ever again, because they don't understand. They may or they may not come back alive from that event,
right,
or from that party, or from et cetera, et cetera. These kids are being put through the ringer, and we have to pray for them. I personally, I fear for the life of my sons, because their spiritual battle, I can't fight their spiritual battle for them. I can only pray that they come out of it on top. So, we're going to end soon. We're going to close soon. But whether you're believers or not, I suggest you open your mind up just a little bit to understanding your creator, or understanding, even if your creator is you, even if it's you believe in, start with self-care. That is going to expose you to something bigger than you, because that's where I started. I started with me. And it became bigger than me. It became that love that I feel for myself didn't come from me. It came from elsewhere. And I mean, start there. And then from there, pray for your kids. Pray to whoever. Pray to yourself. But put that energy out there. Please keep my kids safe. Protect my babies from the darkness of the world. You don't have to call it Satan, but it is darkness, and it is real, and it is energy. Just keep that in mind for our kids, whether you have kids or not. That's the next generation. That's going to be the one that's going to pull us into the next light or darkness. And it's real, and it's happening, and it's thicker than ever. And aside from being a little bit scared of it, we're on the winning side. And it feels good to be on the winning side. It feels good to have that clarity. As crazy as we sound, as crazy as we may look, as maybe not, maybe as generic, as based as it might be to sound like turn your eyes to Jesus. I hated those videos.
Basic.
I used to hate those videos. I used to watch 9/11 videos, and at the end of it be like, but if you just turn your eyes to Jesus, everything could change. I used to click, no thank you. I used to hate it because I'd be like, that's an agenda. That's an agenda. But the truth is, that was the truth. That was the reality. That we were fighting demons. We were fighting evil and darkness even back then. But now, man, if we can't see it now, with events like this, with events like 9/11, man, it's been happening. It's been circulating. And again, like it's not to suggest that we need to fear it. If you're on the right side, there's nothing to fear. And that feels great. You know what I mean? It's really just a matter of perspective and a matter of pushing that portal back into its own space. Like, mind your business. We don't need you here.
You don't have dominion over over me. Like,
right.
We are,
right,
you know,
exactly.
As children of God, like we don't belong to those energies. The only way you can be affected by it is if you allow yourself to succumb to it or surrender to it. So as long as, you know, we keep our eyes and hearts on the Most High, whatever that like ultimate vibrational energy, highest energy potency of creation is, then we'll continue to be uplifted and given grace. But, and it sounds like so woo, or, you know, like you said, you know, conventional to like speak in these terms, but really just like sit with the weight of those words. Like words are spells, they're magic. There's, you know, essentially, you know, these satanic wizards running around with their music and these vibrations and these pulses trying to whip us into a certain cocktail of energy. And we have, and even the concert being called Astro World, like the people of power are aware of the positions of the planets, and there's a reason why we go to church on Sunday, or, you know, have the Sabbath and all those things. So, but we also don't have to be slaves to those energies either, because you can rise above it. There is a higher energy than Saturn, and there is a higher energy even than the sun. So that's why even a lot of the solar worship that Christianity has been interwoven into throughout history can be misleading too, that it's not just about these different, but the sun is a symbol of life and all those things. So it's just, you know, this continual soul refinement that we're going through this human experience. So just to like not be weighed down or downtrodden through these aspects of life, just like a garden, like the leaves are going to fall away. It's going to, you know, return to the soil and turn into the compost and be repurposed into the like hardiness of the plant. You know, in some way, we're all part of the soul's garden. And if we just reside in the faith and trust of, you know, God is innocent, like God isn't here to hurt us. We're kept in this like grace and safety. And even though our, you know, like we're losing, not to say that death doesn't hurt, but we're like losing skin cells and like shedding away, being consumed in a sense every day. So part of this experience of being human is to bring awareness to that which part of us is temporal and that which part of us is eternal and has a continuity through things. Like our body regenerates every 7 years. So the two of us standing here before you today are two different complete bodies than when we interacted with each other 7 years ago, than when we had our children. We're completely different human bodies now. So if that can change, but our soul essence and our spirit and our memories and recollections of all this have carried through, and our relation to the events of our life and the purposefulness and meaning that we give to it, the love and admiration and reverence that we give to it, that is still present here. So where does that go when these cells have like transformed again? And again, not to make light of death, but if God is innocent, then in a sense has its tone of innocence as well, that has its purpose and place here. But the challenge or the what's the word, where you're being like not hypocrisy, but like where you're being like
destined,
no, inappropriate, but like in a religious sense,
Pharisee,
heathen, like a heathen or something like that, like or like one of those words, but that's like the and the word's escaping me, but yeah, but that's like the perversion that we do of our faith, is to not have that trust, to like have the ego of death and the fear of death. The fear of death robs us of the life that we could be growing. So, you know, the greatest trick the devil ever played is convincing the world they didn't exist. The devil's hiding in plain sight, but so is God, and that's ever more present and abundant, because that's the reality. The illusion is the absence, kind of like how there's no such thing as cold, there's only absence of heat. And our fear is that coldness, our fear and our anger and our ego and all of those sinful qualities are the things that deprive us of the heat of the like positive godlike force of life force energy. So, you know, these are the types of attacks that the devil is going to play. And there's also the parable in the Bible of like the devil is like a thief that's caught as the master returns to the home. And so the thief has no other choice because they know they're about to be caught and they know they're not going to get away with any of the valuables in the house, that their only choice is to just start thrashing around and breaking whatever's in the house so they can still like do some like damage or feel, you know, like they earned their fate or whatever like that. So that's what the devil's going to do now, like kicking and screaming and shouting and like making a fuss because, you know, like we know at the end how the story ends and God wins. Spoiler alert. So like we're going through that phase and we just can't be like stuck into the trauma of like, oh no, the thief is breaking my stuff. It's like, you know, just he's going to go, you're going to get him out, and then you're going to like clean up your house and everything's going to be fine. So just not to get trapped in all of this. There's going to be more headlines like the Alec Baldwin one, and you know that everybody was mourning her as that one person. People are again dying every day, but we were all mourning her. Right. And again, that was a tragedy. But again, you know, like just the statistics of it and how they're directing our eye. That's like all of what a movie and a play is, or an illusionist, you know, doing a magic show, is that you're directing the audience's eye so they pay attention to a certain like frame. So that's what they're doing through all of these news stories and the aspects of what's going on in the collective of the whole world. Like this is the, you know, thousands of people gathered in other places all around the world. And what did they accomplish? We don't know because we're not hearing about it. All we're hearing about is this one where people acted out and children died because of it. And again, that's tragic, but still like, where are we putting our focus? What are we funneling into? What are we like perpetuating? Because now this, like it happened on Friday, but this story, and not to say that like, forget about those people, that was so last week, but you know, that energy of this tragedy is now perpetuating over multiple days. It's like a cloud that's hanging over, like a little storm cloud, like carrying with you. So, you know, not to say to just like shake it off or whatever, but this is the challenge that we get to do each day, is that we're given this day our daily bread. We're given this day our daily challenge of there's going to be these different negative energies, but we're also having all these, you know, relevant or relative blessings as well. So I know I tangented, but I just didn't want to end it on a sad note because that was really bummer of a topic today. Thank you so much, everyone. Tootie and I are so excited to be back. We got some more OTM cast coming up for you soon. So stay tuned, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
And then the algorithm, you know what I'm saying? The 808. The 808 exists in the lowest chakra of your body. The majority of content that's related to the 808 is killer or sexual content. The original 808s was even off pitch. So that meant it's an actual sound in the track that you don't realize is there that is fucking up your entire frequency. And now today, every time I hear a car come out, it's 808. But if you think about African music and hip hop and when we was breakdance to, it was light. The percussion. It was upbeat. It was the drums. Now it's like, and all of this is a bigger, and it's like, man, you know, at this point, it's like they should have killed me when I said George Bush don't care about black people.